I'm Jason Gilbert. I'm a sports practitioner of the World Surfing League, and I've worked with the World Surfing League and the ASP, formerly ASP, for 20 years. Many people ask me about my job, what happens behind the scenes at a contest in the medical area. You know, who's working, what are they doing, what sort of stuff you're treating. Now, over these 20 years, I've learned a lot, obviously, from surfers. Okay, and what I've learned are two really important things. There's a type of work we do to get surfers out of a crisis, and that might be an injury that they've suffered at the contest, okay, either in a heat or, you know, in a free session or free surfing session outside of contest days, that they will need work to be able to get them competing, or they've got a situation going on where they know that they won't be able to surf as well. So that's a really important part of the work we do. Okay, now that work is obviously really focused on diagnosing the problem, deciding whether it's something I can help with or not, and if it isn't, knowing who to refer them to. Okay, work with a doctor always on site, and there might be cases we've got to work in conjunct where the doctor might work with anti-inflammatories or some other intervention at the same time that I'm doing soft tissue work, modalities that are based on physiotherapy, osteo, chiropractic, electroacupuncture sometimes, depending, you know, over the years we've done lots of different things. But all of this, whether it be symptomatic or asymptomatic work, is based on the restoration of function. Because we realize athletes just like us, okay, who aren't competing but we're living our lives, when they're in pain, there's been a certain degree of dysfunction, usually for a while before that, to provoke that pain or symptom, unless it's an injury. Okay, this is the thing, when it's an injury and a specific incident or impact and we can identify that, then we can go, okay, this is what happened. We might need to take diagnostic imaging, such as an MRI or an X-ray or something else, to see if there's ligament injury to the knee, for example, or a fracture. All of these things have happened over these 20 years. You know, you think of breaks like Chalpu in Tahiti or the shallow banks of Brazil over the years have probably injured more people than what I can remember than even Chalpu when it's bigger. So each contest site and the conditions we deal with present different injuries, okay? And these injuries, when they occur, might, as I said before, require different professionals. In Tahiti, we have an emergency doctor on hand because we know that if there is an injury and it's serious, well, they're going to need like the best of emergency doctor experience to be able to help at the time and also direct them to care in hospitals, you know, as fast as possible. So in those cases, obviously someone like myself doesn't do much at all. Those cases are rare, okay? Well, when they happen, of course, I'll participate and help all that I can, but they're very rare that they happen. So most of the time in a typical contest, the doctor's looking after stomach infections or gastrointestinal tract infections, colds, flus, other problems like that. Okay, stitches, that's often, you know, it's common at contest sites, especially when there's reef, okay? Patching up people when they've hit the reef. But my work, for example, that's a good example. Someone's hit the reef, they've scraped themselves, but they might have suffered also a neck problem or, you know, any joint problem, shoulder, knee, hip, that hasn't fractured anything or caused ligamentous injury, but has caused a reactive muscle spasm in the area that will need work, especially if the athlete wants to compete. And that's the whole aim of it. You know, the sad thing is seeing athletes that have traveled the world to get to a contest venue a couple of days before it, sometimes more, but injure themselves beforehand. And, you know, many times when this has happened, by being there and by being a sports practitioner who specializes in the restoration of function, we can get them through that. We can actually get them to the point where they're not limited when they surf. So it's not always on my shoulders, as I said, many times it's working with the doctor who might use painkillers or anti-inflammatories or something else, but it's all about maintaining that degree of function, its highest level for the contest, even if we know it's going to need work after the contest. So I hope I'm painting a picture there that's very obvious of the situation when something happens at the contest and how we deal with it. Okay, but funny enough, you'll see behind me, this is years of work and experience at just one contest. This is Bells Beach years ago, but every contest would have similar images, I guess, times 5. You know, there's a lot more treatments than just that. But most of these and most of the treatments and interventions over the years have been with athletes who are there not with pain or symptoms and who are there to improve their mobility and therefore improve their performance. You know, let's imagine a really simple example like The fact that as surfers, we're paddling, you know, this is favoring those internal rotators. It's contracting that area. Okay, we don't paddle sometimes in our back, for example, to balance that up. So a lot of us have these, I guess, biomechanical patterns that are compromised that could lead to injury and limit mobility and performance. So by recognizing that, we work on that. It could be trunk, core, I should say, rotation, and working on that both sides. Surfing's a unilateral sport where we have the same leg back the whole time. So it might be also dealing with a hip issue because of that. You know what I mean? Like, so something quite often is a pre-symptomatic biomechanical dysfunction that we know, hey, hang on, how is it you don't feel pain? Because we've got to remember the body doesn't always cause pain when it should. And by sitting down and recognizing this before it becomes symptomatic is massive. You know, so there's a whole emphasis on orthopedic testing, deep palpation, and other things to be able to show the surfer and confirm as a sports practitioner that a certain area needs restoration of function. Okay, so those sort of things can also occur traveling to the event site, because, you know, we might have an event, for example, in South Africa, and then another event straight away in Tahiti, and that's a very long way to travel. And in that time, you're sitting down a long time, you could fall asleep in a funny position with your head against the window or whatever, and they're also things that compromise spinal function. Okay, so what we can learn from athletes is that we shouldn't wait till we feel pain or obvious symptoms to ask for someone's help, or not even help actually, to work with specialists, okay, like myself, but others, good physios, osteos, chiros, masseuses, whatever, to be able to always maintain that degree of function. We don't want any less than optimal function. We want to perform at our best during our lives always, whether it be working, in our relationships, in the sports we love. If we're surfers, when we surf, too many of us with time accept that the limitation and stiffness we feel is an age-related thing when it's not. It's just that we haven't given it the care that it deserves to compensate for all of the things I've mentioned and so many more, things that appear in life, okay? So I've dedicated a lot of time to create a course, a Stronger Back for Surfers course, where a lot of this is detailed for you guys, okay? Once again, it's not specifically for, these rules aren't specifically for professional surfers. They're for everybody, for all surfers. We love what we do. We want to be surfing as long as possible in life. And it's such a shame to see surfers out of the water due to problems that are avoidable or easily fixed. And too many surfers are out of the water for way longer than what they need to be most of the time when I'm meeting them, okay? Because the problems really aren't that serious. It's just the pain is intense, so they understandably think, oh, because the pain's intense or severe, or it's limiting, then the problem must be really advanced or really severe, and a lot of them don't surf. I've even seen this with ex-professional surfers, okay? A lot of these problems are, I guess, developed along the way, and especially when we're surfing, for example, at the same wave, point breaks, and for whatever, you know, reason, a lot of people have been in the wave pool, for example. Kelly's one, it's a very long wave, you know, so they complain of different, not necessarily injuries, but biomechanical patterns that come from a different situation like that. And that might be where we see in the future the necessity for surfers to be, you know, really looking at the way that they deal with the same uniform wave, especially if more and more wave pools are appearing, and that may be a direction that professional surfing will take with time. Anyway, hope that some of the information in this video has helped you. It's definitely helped a lot of these guys and girls over the years. It's something that I'm very proud of, and it's something that I'm really happy to share with you guys. All the best.